How's it going, everybody? Reverend Doctor here. I want to give you what might be my final update on the Fender American Acoustasonic and maybe how it relates to the other two Acoustasonics that have been released. Not just the Player Series, but now I know that there's like one that's around a $600 price point as far as retail, and I'm not really sure what use that solves. Fender thought that there was a market for it. Their research reflected as such, and they've gone ahead and do it. I'll admit that it's a really cool looking guitar, but if you've been following along, this is what update 6 or 7. I'm not entirely sure. I'm gonna have to find it out with you as I post the video. But you're interested in the guitar. And so I want to speak to the people that have been here the longest that are either fans or detractors of the guitar and are wondering what more that I might have to say on this, because some things have happened as far as my development with these instruments, but also not only that, I want to give you a good baseline of comparison between the American version, the version that's the player version manufactured in Mexico, and I do want to get my hands on the lowest tier version now. But you know, big overview. Do I love this guitar still? Yeah, I do. It's still my go-to guitar. My American version is still my go-to guitar, not least of all because it's comfortable and light and easy to use and has the volume and tone knobs right there to be able to change things rather than like having to switch guitars or, having controls up at the top of the bout of the guitar in order to be able to change volume and things like that. But it's because it just sounds good for the kind of player I am. I'm a very rhythmic, acoustic style player. And because of that, with all the different tones and the shaping that it has on it, it's just very useful. It's so hard to quit now that I've been doing it. When I think about playing a regular acoustic guitar on stage, and most of the time I'm running my own sound with my own PA. I don't even have a monitor. I'm just hearing the PA because I have a Bose, um, the Pro series, the L1 series that has a really wide dispersion. I'm a lot of the time not using a monitor. And even then, feedback on these is just really hard to come by. They're very feedback resistant. If you're not playing on stage, I will say it for maybe the 11th billion time, I don't think that you should own this guitar if you're not regularly playing on stage. If you're playing in a rock pop act or some kind of loud live sound stage situation, I think this guitar is fantastic and it excels at it. The American version, the Player Series version does a pretty good job. The reason why I still prefer the American version over the Player Series is because of the actual transducers that it has on that. Being able to get the sound of the top of the guitar actually improves the sound and adds a level of dynamics to the playing of the guitar that is just really pleasant and musical to my ears. Being able to do things like subtle solos or like, really delicate hand movements on the strings and things like that. It picks those up and it recreates them at volumes that, in my opinion, would be hard to come by on an acoustic guitar without feedback or in-ear monitors. And I don't have to run either of those things with this guitar. But again, speaking to those of you that have been along this far in the journey with me, there have been some things that have happened to each of the guitars. I had to have both of them in the shop recently. My American version, I was having issues with some volume jumps. It turns out that issue was actually one of the broken strings are really hard to get out when they fall into the body of the guitar. They just cause problems. So my guitar tech opened it up, got the string out of the body, and a lot of those issues were resolved. I also have found that the higher strings on that guitar are actually a little bit quieter than I would like them, especially comparing them to the Player Series. Now, the Player Series has had a completely different set of problems. What I have noticed is that the low E string in particular, it's just that string, is exceedingly quiet. It's so quiet that my octaver that I use to be able to kind of recreate a bass sort of tone when I'm performing live, and I use the head rush looper board. You've probably seen those videos. When I use that octaver effect on the head rush looper board, the problem is that uh, it can't even track it, the particular note, because that note is so quiet. I gave it to my guitar tech who, reseated and resandled that bridge on the guitar, and it worked for a little bit, but then the issue started happening again. So disappointing as it was, that guitar is kind of out of commission. It's still in the shop right now, but I wanted to update you on those few things that I have had have, both of them into the shop to have maintenance, but that's to be expected. I guess I'm a little bit disappointed on the player series because, the idea is that with fewer moving parts, and not only that, when I say moving parts, I mean really the electronics in the body, and with the replaceable battery, you would think that I would actually have fewer electronic issues with that, but I've had just as many as the regular American Acoustasonic. I apologize that I haven't gotten my hands on one of the lower tier guitars. I don't have any sponsorships. So when I do these things, it's me, it's my money, being put on the line. No one's paying me to do any of these videos. These are my own unedited opinions. But both of those guitars are going strong. I will admit that with my American one, that battery anxiety has a grip on me, and I even charge it in between sets now. When I'm actually performing on stage, I will unplug it and just let it be, let the battery be what it's going to be. But I have anxiety about it dying on me because it actually has, to the point where I thought a couple of times that the battery was having issues again, but it just turns out that the battery was extremely low. And it felt like I hadn't been using it long enough for the battery to have drained all the way. But yeah, those are my big updates. I hope that you're enjoying the Fender Acoustasonic. If you still want updates like this, let me know. If you're enjoying these videos, I truly only do it for you guys to be able to be a part of this community and to also get my own questions answered. So if you're enjoying like the community around this guitar, let me know. I'll keep posting updates as long as I have this guitar because I'm also curious about how it's going to age. And not only that, but giving people an opportunity to see how it performs in a professional setting is super important, because I think that's one of the only contexts in which the Fender Acoustasonic at any tier level makes sense at all. So I still perform on it, anywhere between 20 to 30 days a month to it's getting rough out there, y'all. I'm going to be playing 6 shows next month. It's rough out here in California. Check out my TikTok if you want more information on why I think that is. But aside from that, those are my updates. Let me know questions, comments, leave a like. It goes so far to like helping people discover my videos. Otherwise, thanks. Until next time.
Wash your face and